And we wanted to address our teacher retention rates. I think across the country right now, teacher shortages are a real thing. And when we talked to our staff, they said, look, we don't want to leave the classroom to be leaders. We want an opportunity to do that and stay with students. And so trying to think outside the box about how to create instructional leadership opportunities for them was really a goal of our admin team.
This is the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with your host, Vicki Davis.
The National Association of Secondary School Principals, NASSP, has named Courtney Walker the 2024 NASSP National Assistant Principal of the Year. And she is the Assistant Principal of Carrollton High School in Carrollton, Georgia. And this is your 15th year in education. Congratulations, Courtney.
Thank you so much.
Today, we're talking about customizing learning with both students and teachers. So could you kind of talk about your philosophy behind customizing learning?
I'm definitely a believer in that learning is not a one-size-fits-all approach. And that really was something I was very passionate about when I was in the classroom as a teacher. It's really figuring out what each of my individual students needs and figuring out how to plan instruction that really met the needs that they were presenting. And so as I moved into education, I really wanted to be intentional to do the same thing with our staff. I've been in administration for 5 years now. In my first couple of years, I really took time just to sit and listen to our teachers. And the feedback that they gave us was two things. One, that they wanted to be a part of the decision-making process in our building. They wanted their voices to be heard, but also that they wanted professional learning that was directly impactful on their classrooms and that it aligned with specific needs that they had for their students. And so lots of times I think professional learning can be done by outside consultants or in a one-size-fits-all manner so that teachers are all getting the same thing, whether they really need that learning or not. And so giving them to have a choice and a voice in how they learn as professionals, what kind of strategies that they want to try with their students, and making sure that aligns with what our school and our district needs and priorities are is important for us.
Now, you call this professional learning pathways. How is that different from PLCs and all the other things that we've heard of before?
We also have PLCs in our building. We call them common course teams at our high school. Our teachers who teach the same content and same courses work together collaboratively to analyze the data from common formative assessments to make instructional decisions. Our pathways are a little bit different in that they are driven by teachers identifying areas of growth for themselves. And so in August, they take a needs assessment aligned with what our district improvement initiatives are and this Georgia teacher evaluation standard. So we offer 5 pathways to our staff. The first one is instructional planning and content knowledge. They also can choose from instructional strategies focusing on differentiation. They can look at assessment needs and uses and assess different types of assessment strategies. They can look at developing positive relationships with students and families and different stakeholders in our community. And then how are they able to amp up rigor and relevance in the classroom? And so they take an assessment, they rank the 5 pathways in order of preference to them, and then they essentially stick with that same pathway throughout the school year. It's created small groups for our teachers, so they meet during their planning period really twice a semester. So the first one is in September, where we have teachers in our building that are leading each pathway because they've demonstrated that they've got an area of expertise in that particular one. And so they meet with those teachers in groups of 5 to 6 usually, and they discuss different strategies that fall within the umbrella of the pathway that they're working in. And so they go back to their classrooms, they implement those strategies. They also complete peer observations and watch each other teach and then reflect back on that implementation the following month. And then for the second semester, they repeat the process, but they just go a little bit deeper into those strategies and really try to grow their expertise in that so that by the end of the year that they really can say, hey, I feel like I've improved in this one particular area.
Oh, peer observations. I mean, that's absolutely, in my personal experience, one of the most valuable, but often the least used because you got to find a sub, right, for that teacher. And it's so hard to get subs. But It's so valuable. So, what kind of feedback are you getting from your teachers in terms of how they feel like it's impacting the classroom?
Couple of different things. Our staff has said that they really enjoy working across disciplines. Lots of times they kind of get in their bubble. All of our math teachers are with the math department and our English teachers are with English. But in this model, they really get a chance to collaborate across content areas. And so that gives them an opportunity to get to know more people in the building, develop stronger relationships with their colleagues, also bounce around ideas and see what they would look like in different settings and with different levels of students. For example, one of our teachers teaches with our self-contained math students. He went and observed an AP science course. And so what he brought back to his classroom was a way to strengthen the way he asked questions to his students, how to take the questions he had been using and amp those up to a higher depth of knowledge for students, and really learning how to push his students in the math classroom. So they're taking ideas from each other in spaces that they normally wouldn't have observed in or seen, but bringing it back in a way that is meaningful for their kids and in their classrooms.
And these are the kind of stories that people scratch their head and go, I never would have thought about that. But then it's driven by the teachers and they're motivated and this is what they've asked for. It makes a huge difference when a teacher asks for it. They're saying, hey, I want to learn this. That's just so empowering, isn't it?
Yes. And I think that was the other really large feedback we got from our teachers was that they also wanted an opportunity to lead. We wanted to address our teacher retention rates. I think across the country right now, teacher shortages are a real thing. And when we talked to our staff, they said, look, we don't want to leave the classroom to be leaders. We want an opportunity to do that and stay with students. And so trying to think outside the box about how to create instructional leadership opportunities for them was really a goal of our admin team. And to think outside the box beyond just a committee or a student mentor, how can we use them as experts in the field to grow them as leaders and to grow our staff in the areas that they are serving students?
Okay, so you're so passionate about customizing it for your educators. But what about students? Do you want to customize for them too?
We do. Part of our responsibilities as the assistant principal of teaching and learning at our school is to take care of our master schedule. And so I work very closely with our guidance counselors to make sure that we are really looking at plans that play to students' strengths. I think education has come a really long way from when I was in high school. At the time, it felt like if you were an honors student, you had to be honors across the board. And so you either were tracked in that direction or you were tracked for a career or remedial program. And so we really want to make sure that we're not doing that to students, that we're looking at opportunities to give them advanced coursework and places of strength. And that if they need supports or more time in certain places, that we are also offering that to them as well. We want to create opportunities for them to step out and lead. I think that's definitely critical for our kids to be successful beyond high school, not just get a diploma, but be ready to serve in their communities. And so finding places where they're very passionate right now is important for us. And so we try to create internship opportunities with our community stakeholders where our kids can get plugged in different arenas. Sometimes that's inside of our school building. Sometimes that's outside with different businesses. For example, we had a student last year who came to me and said, Ms. Walker, I'm really interested in getting my pilot's license. I really think that I want to be a pilot after I graduate. And so we partnered with the West Georgia Regional Airport to find him an internship there instead of adding on an additional elective class that he didn't need. Just kind of thinking outside the box about how can we get kids really invested in their learning and topics and ideas that really drive them and motivate them.
What do you do when your colleagues at other schools say, oh, but Courtney, our school is just too big. That's too much to manage. It's too hard to do. How do you make it manageable?
It's a lot of work. I won't shy away from that. I think if you knew any person in our building, I would proudly say that the people, the teachers, the counselors, the administrators in our building are some of the hardest working people I've ever met. But we do it because it's what's in the best interest of kids. And so we don't shy away from the extra time or effort to do that and make sure we create opportunities for students that they may not have been presented with otherwise. And I think being mindful to recognize their efforts is equally critically important, but also helping them create some balance too. Mental health has many facets. And so for a lot of our kids who are extremely academically aggressive, we spend a lot of time working through strategies about how to prioritize those things that are the most passionate for them. And if we can help them verbalize and communicate that, then we can better serve them in how we prioritize their course loads. And so, yes, it requires more work. Yes, it requires more effort, but I do believe it's in the best interest of students.
So it sounds like personalized learning is a mindset.
It is. It very much is.
So what's your advice, administrators, is they're saying, okay, I want to apply some of these in my school. Where do they start? What's the easiest way to do that?
We have had an extremely supportive superintendent and board of education who, when we bring things to them and say, this is something we want to do and implement, they believe in getting to yes if it's in what's in the best interest of students. And so that's really a starting place. But the idea development and the carry out of a lot of these ideas is at the teacher level. And so initiatives and positive change do not happen top down typically. They may start there, but they often fall flat if it's administrators are the ones who are driving the bus forward. And so finding your runners in the school, who are your teachers who can get behind the idea and them really be the ones who are carrying it out and see it happen, because they also are the ones who can poke holes in it, find the tripping points for you if you're putting in some systematic changes. We've got our team of teachers are ones that are doing that. And they look at things from different perspectives that our admin team may not see it from, and really making sure we're intentional to balance those voices. When we put this in place several years ago, we start every summer with a school leadership team, school improvement planning session. And so we take our teachers off campus, we feed them. Lots of times changing the environment helps those conversations to flow a little bit more freely. And so we take the whole day. The morning we sit and we go through all of the data from the previous school year, whether that be student achievement data or discipline attendance data. And we talk about big events and initiatives that we roll out on our building, and we get their feedback. And then we develop our school improvement plan collaboratively with those teachers, and then revisit that plan every single month in our leadership meeting to make sure that if we're saying this is what's the most important to us as a team, that we're actually following through and seeing it happen. And if it's not, then we have to troubleshoot that and figure out, is it something we need to table for now and come back to, or do we need to reassess altogether? And so I think really having the teachers in the decision-making process from start to finish is really what will move any kind of positive changes forward in a building.
It sounds like you're an administrator who respects teachers.
I want to. I hope that my staff feels like that about me. I think they're the best. We have the greatest teachers, and they all have a little bit different background and a little bit different passions, but I didn't stand behind a school or a team if I didn't believe that they loved kids. And so I can say that wholeheartedly about our teachers, that they love students. I don't think you find many teachers who go into the profession who don't feel that way about kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's really just giving them a platform and an avenue to figure out what they can contribute to the growth of a school, to make sure that we're making it happen.
Well, thank you, Courtney Walker, 2024 NASSP National Assistant Principal of the Year. Change happens when we all respect one another. That's just part of working with people and helping things be positive and move forward. So thanks for coming on the show, Courtney.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast. Watch the video version of this podcast and catch my new radio and TV show, Cool Cat Teacher Talk, on YouTube and a radio or TV station near you. Join my Cool Cat Teacher Classroom Matters newsletter at coolcatteacher.com/newsletter. Leave a review if you found this helpful. See you later, educator.